Happy conference championship weekend, everybody. Caludia Bellofatto, Will Brinson, RJ White, Larry Hartstein hanging out to break down the whole slate, both games here on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. How are we feeling, guys? I'm sad. The season's coming to an end. We've had some exciting games. Larry decided to come hang out with us in the Florida studios. Larry, a little bittersweet.
A little bittersweet because I seem to be getting hot just as the season is ending. I'm sure we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, we've had great drama, great playoffs, and I just hope we get more of it on Sunday.
Yeah, let's bring that up, actually, if we can, producer Ben, because Larry is getting hot at the right time. Talk to me, Larry.
You know, profitable and then profitable. I just want to try to put 4 straight profitable weeks together. It was very tough, though, to see the Rams not come through late. It could have been a monster week. But then the cold, I was wrong about the cold. The cold did affect the Rams.
Will?
Look, Rams win it all. I can live with that.
Okay.
Hey, producer Ben got his Indiana championship. I get my Rams Super Bowl. You know. If you gotta go bust in the contest on the way there, so be it.
Yeah, it's been all right. I mean, it's been a lot of drama. Obviously, disappointed the Bills didn't win, but in that they didn't advance. But you know, we're doing what we can. Got some future stuff open too, so I think it's been pretty solid.
Sweet. I've been pretty smart with my money. Full transparency. A little too much Pat's exposure this week, which we'll get into. A reminder for those who haven't been following along, we have the betting rules. Everybody gets $1,000 each week. Max bet is $500. Have to make at least one bet in every game and use all of the $1,000. So we're all starting with $1,000 for both of these games. We'll start with the Pats and the Broncos. Pats laying 5 here on the road, total at 42, kickoff set for 3 p.m. The Broncos are the first home underdog of 5 or more points in conference championship history. It's not Bo Nix under center. It's Jarrett Stidham. Yet I'm seeing all Broncos money outside of my own pick. So RJ White, you have the floor first.
Yeah, I brought it up several times. Home dogs of 4+ in the playoffs are now 11-0 against the spread in the last 50 years after the Rams failed to cover the last 2 weeks. I think this line is too inflated after the Bo Nix injury. I think Denver deserves to be rated slightly above average with their elite defense and with a quarterback that has done some things in the league when he's been forced to start before. Now, I'm not going to call him an MVP candidate or even as good as Bo Nix, but I would not make the same adjustment with him on the line as I would going from like a Mahomes to a Minshew or for that example that we saw is one of the things this year. He had a big game in his first start against San Francisco's #1 defense in 2023. And his 4 starts, if you extrapolate them to 17 games, it compares pretty well to Knicks' 2025 season, except for getting sacked way more. So I think that's the key is the offensive line going to be able to protect him here? We know that the Patriots feasted on a couple of bad offensive lines the last couple of weeks. So I could see him getting spooked. I could see a low-scoring game that the Broncos don't cover, but I'm going to just play the line value here. I'm going to take Broncos plus 5.5 for 150. Broncos minus 3.5 in the first half for 100 at minus 120. And then a little sprinkle on the money line, 50 plus 210 on the Broncos money line. So I'm just going to hope that this trend of 11-0 continues on here.
Jarrett Stidham hasn't made a single pass attempt since week 18 of 2023. You're sprinkling Broncos across the board. And Will, it looks like you're doing the same with the 5.5 and money line.
Yeah, I mean, look, Patriots are the better team with the better quarterback, but this is a really good Broncos defense. Playing at home, conference championship, and, I think when you've got somebody like Sean Payton at the helm, he's going to design an offensive attack here that involves running the ball a lot. And, like to RJ's point, Jarrett Stidham is not Bo Nix, right? He wasn't a first-round pick, wasn't in the rookie of the year conversation or anything like that. But he's been with Sean Payton for the last 3 years. He is firmly entrenched in this system. And I think Sean Payton will have this horizontal passing game, quick hitters, slow drives, hope the defense can create some turnovers and keep this one close and low scoring in a way that allows Denver, even if they lose, to cover the 5.5. So I'll take 150 on the 5.5. I got 50 on the money line as well. And then I've got a money line parlay with the Broncos and one other underdog of these championship windows.
All right, which we'll get to, Larry.
Yeah, this line is saying there's a 6-point difference between Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham. I think that's too much. Anything over -4 in this spot is too much for me because Jarrett Stidham has been so impressive in the system, not on the field. I know we haven't seen him in a couple of years, but they gave him $12 million this offseason. In the preseason, you can throw out preseason if you want, but he was 30 of 38 with 4 TDs and no picks. And you go back to that game against the Niners and their top-rated defense a few years ago, throws for 365, runs for a bunch as well. This is a capable guy who can get the ball out quick to RJ Harvey, to Mims, to Sutton, and to Ingram, and I think can keep the chains moving. He has a good offensive line. I think it's going to be a great game. I think the Patriots are going to win the game, but it's too many points.
Yeah, it sounds like we're all on the same page. The 5 worries me. We saw it open at 4.5, quickly moved to 5. So lots of Patriots love. I think maybe a little overreaction. The Denver defense certainly scares me. Drake May did not look great last week. He was certainly saved by their defense. That being said, I do think it's going to take a little bit for Stidham to look okay and get enough help from the defense to where they could possibly get a lead. So I'm going to get the Pats in the first half -2.5, staying away from that 5, under that key number of 3. I like them to come out stronger. We know how they've been on the road, the best in the NFL, undefeated, 7-1 ATS. The full game, too, if we're talking, might worry you if you are a Patriots fan because of how the Broncos have come back and how they've played in these close games. 13 comeback wins, 12-1 in one-score games. But that wasn't with Jarrett Stidham. So I'm not too worried. I do think the Patriots could possibly win this by a touchdown, but I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to take them to win first half, 2.5, and then also to win both halves at +190. I'll put some on there as well. So 200 on 1.5, 2.5, and then 100 on to win both halves. I don't want to overreact to what happened against the Bills, but we talked a lot about what bad shape the Bills were heading into that game with Josh Allen only having 3 healthy receivers, going through the 2 time zones, playing at the altitude. I thought that Denver was going to have no problem there. With all of that, with the sacks, with the fumbles, with Josh Allen not having a game, with 2 picks, almost 70 yards and penalties, they still went into overtime, and that was with Bo Nix on the field. The Bills put up almost 6 yards of play, over 160 yards on the ground, 30 points, 3 for 5 in the red zone, and they outgained Denver by 100 points. So, yeah, I have a feeling the Patriots might be okay. I think they're going to force some mistakes for sure, but I think the defense for the Patriots is going to give them a nice level. Will, I'll give you the floor in just a second, but I have to shout out this Patriots defense. They allowed a touchdown, 1 touchdown, 6 opponent trips to the red zone so far. They've allowed the fewest touchdown through 2 playoff games since the 2006 Colts, who went on to win the Super Bowl. Just saying, Will.
So, not disagreeing with those stats. The Chargers' offensive line was hot doo-doo. The Texans were missing Nico Collins. And, I just think Denver has a better offensive game plan just because you have Sean Payton at the wheels. I also sort of wonder, what happens if Drake May loses more than 50% of his 6 fumbles over the last 2 weeks? Because that's kind of lucky. You put the ball.
Jarrett Stidham's probably going to have 6 fumbles himself too, and he'll probably lose half of those. So even playing field, 100%. I see what you're saying.
I'm just saying, that is flying under the. I think it's flying a little bit under the radar that 6 fumbles in 2 games in your first 2 playoff games is a lot of fumbles.
For sure. And this is the toughest pass run he's going to be facing, 100%. But it's Jarrett Stidham on the other side. That's where the even playing field comes from. You're going to get some mistakes from Stidham. You're going to get some mistakes from Drake May. But Josh Allen had all of those mistakes, and that offense looked awful. And they still took the game into overtime with Bo Nix. That's my point. I'm not denying. I think this is a weakness versus a strength with Denver having the upper hand. But I also don't think Vegas is crazy. 5 does feel like a lot, but I do think the Patriots can get it done. And that's really not a biased thing for me. Every week I've tried to bet against them, but hey, man, it's worked for me so far. Okay, so that's everything there on the side. Let's talk, right? Everybody went? Did everybody go?
Yeah.
Total. So it's going to be first half, quarter, full game. And we've seen this move from 41.5 to 42. So we've seen some over money overall. Well, you're going to go the opposite way. You're looking on the under.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a pretty good correlation with the Broncos and the under here. If you think that the game is going to stay loose, I mean, and that's a nobly Sherlock thing because the spread is 5. But I also think if this game remains low scoring, it just opens up the possibility that Jarrett Stidham can make a couple of plays. The Denver defense creates a couple of turnovers. You get field position, and all of a sudden you get to the fourth quarter, and we're in a really, really tight game where I don't know that Sean Payton is necessarily going to empower Jarrett Stidham to uncork anything, but I just think they have behind that offensive line, he can, set up some PPR scam stuff, some gadget plays. He's going to be in his bag when it comes to this playbook. And I don't think Stidham's going to be overwhelmed, even though it's like the craziest possible situation to be out there playing in this game. So I think the Broncos in the under, a nice little correlation there. And I like the under as well, but just going to take 50 on it.
Larry?
Well, the standard team total for Denver in this game is going to be 17.5 or 18.5, depending on what book you have. I am playing 150 over 16.5. That's an alternate team total because I have faith in Sean Payton. I really have faith in Jarrett Stidham. And this is a Patriots pass defense that was 25th in DVOA throughout the course of the regular season. I know they've stepped it up in the playoffs. Carlton Davis is dealing with a head injury. This is a key starting cornerback who had 2 INTs against Houston before leaving in the fourth quarter. And the third point on this is that Marvin Mims, because of the injuries at wideout, they took him off special teams. That might have been the best thing to happen to that offense. He goes 8 for 93 and a touchdown. This is an explosive play waiting to happen. I just trust Sean Payton to get to 17 points.
All right, lots of trust for Larry on the Denver side. RJ?
Yeah, I made the case for Denver on the spread, but New England's defense is crushing it right now and can definitely help them cover. Will said the correlation. I mean, they won by double digits against the Chargers because the defense didn't allow anything in that game. Zach Kerr threw everything at Stroud the next week in the first half. He completely melted down, and that certainly is in play to happen to Jarrett Stidham. So Denver has a much better offensive line. Maybe that helps to keep the pass rush at bay a little bit. So I'm still going to back them on the spread, but I love getting the under here. I worry that people are betting it up because I think the key number of 41 is a clear underplay when it was 41.5. Now it's 42.5. So I like it even more. Putting 100 on under 42.5, 100 on the Patriots team total, under 23.5 at plus 100. I think even in a game where they dominate like that Chargers game, they might not get to 24. They might not have to. They might just play possession and let Stidham do his thing. So Pats had just 3.9 yards per play last week, and Denver is, of course, the best team in the league at getting pressure. And so you get in Drake May's face a little bit, who knows how that game's going to go.
Yeah, I will say, too, if we're talking about the pressure versus the offensive line, Drake May can run, and that's a difference. Jarrett Stidham's not really the mobile quarterback. So, even if the O-line gives him all the time in the world, at some point, the Patriots deep front is going to get to him, and I think that's where they're going to run into some issues. And I will mention, too, 1 3 and 4 career starts. He's one of 6 quarterbacks to make their first start in the playoffs. Only one of those quarterbacks actually won, and he has 8 touchdowns to 8 picks in 20 career appearances. So with all of that said, I don't see offense coming from the Denver side. Their defense, for sure, toughest in the NFL, which is why this line is so scary if you're on the Patriots side. So I agree with everything that RJ said. I'm going under. The reason I'm not putting money on it is that I was all over the under last week. Bills and Broncos had under written all over it, and that didn't cash, so I just sort of want to stay away from it. But for everything you guys said, I'm on the under as well. Larry, RJ, Will, did we all go?
We did.
Okay, we all went. Let's go favorite player props. And let's start with you, RJ.
Yeah, I'm taking Drake May to throw an interception at plus 110, putting 100 on it. He had a run of 6 of 8 games with an interception down the stretch, then played those uncompetitive games against Miami and the Jets where he didn't have to do much of anything. Interception in each playoff game, despite New England being controlled in each and him not having to do too much in the second half of those games. Those tough defenses with good pass rushes, that's what we're seeing with Denver here. So I think they'll force him into a few bad throws and one gets picked. So I'm playing him to throw an interception. Love the odds at plus 110. If you can get plus money on this, I think it's a good play.
All right, Larry.
Yeah, props is where I'm putting my money on this game. Starting with Ramondre Stevenson, this guy has been incredible now. 6 straight games. He is averaging over 7 yards per carry. He's broken 16 tackles in that span. You cannot arm tackle him the way that he is running now. And I think Vrabel wants to avoid that Denver pass rush, is going to lean on Stevenson. I like his carries as well. He had 16 carries even despite leaving the game last week for a while with the eye injury. And then 100 on Jarrett Stidham, over 18.5 completions. Very tough to run on the Patriots with Milton Williams in the middle, 3.6 yards per carry allowed. So I think we get a lot of short passes from Jarrett Stidham. And finally, RJ Harvey under 42.5 rushing yards. He has been so inefficient, 3.7 yards per carry. He's excellent as a receiver. And what if J.K. Dobbins comes back? I mean, then this prop looks even better. But even assuming J.K. Dobbins remains out, I think R.J. Harvey's going to struggle on the ground.
Prop party for Larry, Will?
I'm going to take a little Ramondre Stevenson action as well, but I'm going to parlay his catches over 2.5, along with 14.5 receiving yards. He's doing his evolve last week, but has been a significant part of the passing game. And I sort of thought coming into the playoffs that Vrabel might cut Travion Henderson loose, and it's just like the stuff that Ramondre Stevenson did going into the end of the regular season. You could just tell, he's eased up with the fumbling, that he had the issues that he had early in the year, and that Vrabel wants to lean on like the veteran. I mean, Vrabel's game plan is as clear as day for how he wants to win these playoff games. I mean, he wants rock fights. He wants the defense to be great. He wants to run the football. He wants to try to limit mistakes as best he can. And so I'll take Ramondre Stevenson to be involved in the passing game a bit. Only 15 yards and 3 catches.
Yeah, I looked at Ramondre, a possible combo, rushing plus receiving, just because taking running back receiving props seems to always screw me. But I stayed away from that. I'm going to go with Hunter Henry. I think it's a good bounce back week. I know he put up basically nothing last week, but that was against Houston, who's one of the best teams against tight ends in the NFL. The Broncos, great defense, not specifically against tight ends, though. They're allowing almost 9 targets a game. That is the 7th most yards a game at 62. And as we've been saying, Drake May is going to be facing pressure all day long with this kickoff at 3 p.m., possibly into the night. So he's going to need his safety blanket. And that has been Hunter Henry with those checkdowns. I think we get to 40.5. So I'll put 150 on that. Let's move on to Rams and Seahawks after this. All right, Rams-Seahawks, the first playoff game between the number 1 scoring defense and the number 1 scoring offense in the conference championship since the Super Bowl 2016 with the Pats and Falcons. That's the last time we saw number 1 up against number 1. As you can see here, the Seahawks laying 2.5 against the Rams. This is a matchup we saw twice in the regular season. One was a 2-point game. The other was a 1-point overtime game. Both home teams won. So how will the third one go down? Larry Hartstein, what do you think?
I like the Rams here. I think there's a little bit of value because they have not covered the last 2 games while the Seahawks, absolutely destroyed the 49ers at home. I think we're getting a little value. I'm going to take it up to 3 at -125, which you can find, very common across the market. This is a game that should come down to the wire again. They put up almost 600 yards without a turnover the last time they were in Seattle. They did not have Devontae Adams. They did not have a defensive captain, safety Quentin Lake. Both guys are back now. Give me the Rams +3.
And are we concerned at all? Sam Darnold is still questionable on the injury report. They're saying day to day with that oblique. Obviously, he played with that last week. RJ, are you considering that at all with this cap?
He got through last week unscathed. I think we were really concerned about last week when he popped up there. And if he's able to do that, then I think he's going to be fine here. Of course, he didn't have to do too much. He only completed 12 passes in that game. But the Seattle defense playing out of its mind. You take out the last Rams game, and it's allowed 2 touchdowns in 6 games since week 13. Like, that's incredible to me for a defense. But the Rams, of course, have, like you said, the top offense in football, had more yards in that Seattle game than Seattle's allowed in the last 3 combined. So, and that's playing 3 playoff teams, the Panthers and the 49ers twice. I'm certainly concerned Stafford's playing less than 100%, but I'm going to trust this Rams offense. I think they're the better value here. I'm also betting it up to buying it up to 3 and putting 200 on it at -125. Hoping to play it as a standard price at some point. I'm going to keep an eye on it before I put it in as an official pick because I want to get that +3 because I think 2.5 is probably the right number.
Well, of course, you're on the Rams.
I think it's a perfectly, it's a good line. This is going to be more than likely a really close game between definitely the 2 best teams in the NFC all year, maybe the 2 best teams in football all year. The Rams have the edge on offense. The Seahawks have the edge on defense. I'm going to trust Matthew Stafford in this spot. If you go back and look at Sean McVay offenses against Mike McDonald defenses, even dating back to when he was in Baltimore, I mean, they put up points against him. Like, Sean McVay knows how to score against this defense that has been so good all season long. And I think Seattle comes to play. But I think the Rams offense is going to get it done in terms of moving the ball enough to outscore Seattle. And is it possible that this Sam Darnold oblique injury is really an excuse to yank him out after his 4th interception of the first half? Maybe. Who knows? We'll see. But he didn't do anything last week. There's 17 passes. I mean, he didn't have to do anything. And I do think the Rams will get some pressure on him. They have been his absolute kryptonite over the past 2 years. So I got 200 on the Rams plus 3 at that minus 125 that RJ mentioned, 50 on the Rams money line, and an $80. As you can tell, I'm down. An $80, I'm way behind in the standings. $80 money line parlay on the Broncos Rams, which pays out over 6-1. And I think, it's a little bit of chasing, but I really do think that's pretty good value for those two teams when you talk about this matchup and then a home team as a significant dog in the earlier game.
Anything can happen. And I felt like a square last week. I threw in a last-minute favorite parlay. Worked out. I've laughed this morning seeing I was on the opposite side of all of you guys. But as I looked at this game, and I understand the Rams have eaten Sam Darnold for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 6 picks and 4 sacks in just the 2 games this season. Opposite for Stafford in those 2 games, 5 touchdowns, no picks, and no sacks. The issue is both of those games were a 2-point and a 1-point game. So even with all of those mistakes from Sam Darnold, they were still able to keep that game close. I've been all over the Rams, as I think all were heading into the postseason, talking about they were the best team in football. And they've needed late game heroics in both games against the Panthers and the Bears. So I look at this line and I see why you think there would be value with the Rams, but I look at it as more so, I think it's going to be another tight game, as both games were. Both home teams won. Seahawks at home. They've been much more convincing, although we saw just 1 game from them. They took care of business, and the Rams really haven't. So I get that Stafford play all season long at MVP level. He's played very good against the Seahawks team, but they also have 5 losses in 1-score games this season. So I'm going to back Seattle to get it done. Also, I think the run game is going to be huge. If Sam Darnold's not playing well, they can lean. I know Charbonnet's out, but on Kenneth Walker, almost 690 rush yards, 8 rushing touchdowns over the last 4 games. So I think that will take some pressure off. You have an even playing field with how good this Rams offense can be, but we haven't seen that consistently in a 2-game sample size. So I will take the laying of 2.5, and I'll put 150 on that with the Seahawks. Total could be a team total, first half, quarter, full game, whatever you would like. Will Brinson, how you betting it?
I will just take the over in this spot. I do think we get a lot of points. I'm going to put 65 on the over because that's all I had left in my bank account after my significant outlay on some props that'll be coming
Bankroll
up in
management.
a second.
Yes.
I've got to spend my 1,000. I was down to this. Look, we saw what the Seahawks could do in the first meeting between these teams when, even with Sam Darnold throwing 4 picks, that they were able to storm back. And then, of course, that insane Thursday night game, the second time they met, where there was just points galore. So I think, given the Rams' secondary issues, it's very possible that even if Los Angeles gets a lead, Seattle will put up points. So I do think that you have to, if the Rams want to win this game and get a lead, that they have to keep their foot on the gas, and the same goes for Seattle. So I like the over in this spot.
RJ, agreement?
Yeah, the Rams scored 24 plus in 8 straight between the first Seattle game and last week's bad weather game. That include that second Seattle game too. So weather's probably not going to be a factor here. The Rams D hasn't played well down the stretch, which has led to 7 straight Rams games going over prior to last week. And we saw how the weather affected that game. I think we're all convinced the Rams are going to score a lot more points in that matchup. That first Seattle Rams game was a 48.5 total that went way under. The last one was a 42 total that went way over. I expect that first number of 48.5 is probably where this should be. So it's ticked down a little bit, 46.5. We can see games land on 47 with 24-23 type final, or, skew a field goal around here and there, 27-20. I'm going to take the over as long as it stays below 48, and it looks like it's ticking down. So 100 for me on over 46.5.
Larry?
Rams team total over 22.5. This is a number you almost never see for the Rams. And I was so wrong last week about the weather not hampering them. It clearly hampered them. This is going to feel balmy. It's 42 degrees, 19% chance of rain, 5-mile-per-hour winds gusting up to 13. That is nothing. They're going to love the conditions there. And as we talked about, 6.6 yards per play in the last matchup in Seattle, I think they definitely get to 23.
And I will play contrarian once again. I think if you do like the Seahawks, though, you'd be looking to the under. I'm not putting money on it because I just don't trust really any teams at this point in the postseason. But Seattle's defense has just been suffocating. Last 7 games, they've allowed more than 16 points just once. That was the Rams in that game, but I don't trust the Rams offense right now. And Sam Darnold could probably throw a few picks, and maybe their return for touchdowns. I don't know. That's why I'm not betting on the total at all, but I do lean under because of the Seattle defense, and I like Seattle to win this game. Let's move on to some player props, and let's come to you first, Will.
I have a bunch of player props in this game. What could go wrong?
Okay, so rip through them and then.
Yeah, look at this paragraph I wrote up in player props.
I didn't actually really look at that first, but go ahead.
So, it's like a flat-out James Joyce novel up in here. Devontae Adams' price has creeped to the point he's plus 120. He hadn't scored lately. Puka has been heavily involved near the red zone, but I do think Adams is still going to be a primary target for Matthew Stafford. He's one of the best red zone threats in football. Plus 120, it's a principal play. I'm going to take it for 50. Blake Corum up almost 3-1. Now, the guy can get plenty of red zone carries, and they don't mind using him. So I'm going to take 50 on that as well. Then Rashid Shaheed, this number is pretty shocking to me. I understand that, he's not JSN is out there. He's not the primary receiver, but 15.5 yards longest reception against this Rams secondary. I'll take that for 100. I think he gets at least 1 catch of 16 yards or longer. And then I've got a nuclear bomb parlay on JSN and Puka monster games, 10 plus catches each. 16-1. We're going to put 30 on that to win 480, or max being 500, I believe. So again, little chasing here, but I don't think that's that bad of value.
Will could be up like 5,000 by the end of this week.
Right.
I don't know the way we're at it. All right, so plenty of options for you there. RJ, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm putting 100 on Jackson Smith-Njigba over 89.5 reception yards. Line is depressed because he's had 3 duds in a row, but Seattle's defense made it to where he didn't have to do much in those games. That's not going to be the case in this matchup. He's had a couple big games against the Rams this season, gone over 90 on both of them. And actually prior to this stretch of 3 games, he had 90-plus yards in 13 of 15 games, and the Rams give up 150.8 yards to receivers. We know he's going to get the majority of that, and the Rams are going to score enough. I think that JSN gets his double-digit looks that he usually gets, that he hasn't gotten these last few weeks, gets over this number, likely gets past 100 if you want to sprinkle on that. But for me, it's just going to be 100 on 89.5 reception yards. It's a very low number for him.
All right, Larry?
Yeah, I got 3 props, starting with Nakua over 91.5. I thought this was going to be around 100. He has 300 receiving yards in the 2 matchups. He still had 10 targets last week. He only had 5 catches, but he has 13 targets per game over the last 6. So I love Puka again to do what he does, because it's very tough to run on Seattle. So you're going to have a high volume passing game. AJ Barner over 2.5 catches. This is juice at minus 155. I have 150 on this bet. He has 4 catches and 10 catches in the 2 games against the Rams, and the Rams have given up 23 catches to opposing tight ends in the last 3 games. So I think Sam Darnold is going to have to throw more, and A.J. Barner is going to be a guy who gets at least 3 catches. And then Kyron Williams over 11.5 receiving yards. He has 48 in the playoffs, catching 6 of 7 targets. He's cleared this number in 5 straight games. I think they really like him as a receiver over the middle, especially when Stafford is feeling the pressure. He likes to dump it off. So those are my 3 props.
I'm trying to see if Larry has notes anywhere. How are you remembering all of this stuff? You don't even have notes on your – he doesn't have a computer or notes or anything. He's doing great, ripping these numbers out. Yeah, money bags over here. And he's leading the way, so it's all working for him. I'm looking at Matthew Stafford over on attempts. You just talked about it with Puka, a high passing volume here, and that's what I'm thinking as well. I'll put 200 on 35.5. He's had 42 in each of the 2 games they faced, 28 in the win over Seattle, 49 in the loss to them. Yeah. 42 in the first 2 games of the playoffs is what I meant. And then he had 20 in the win over Seattle, 49 in the loss to them. Obviously, game script is going to bode better if they're playing from behind here. But in general, Seahawks are allowing over 36 a game. We don't need completions. We don't need yards. This is a tough defense. I'm just going with the volume here, over 35.5 attempts. We will end the show with some Super Bowl props on the other side. All right, last 2 markets here. Super Bowl matchup prediction. And Pats Rams No, Pats-Seahawks is the favorite, plus 125. Then Pats-Rams, plus 215. Then you can guess the rest of the way. What are you thinking, Larry?
I'm thinking Rams over Patriots plus 320. I just think, maybe it's the narrative talking to me or Will in my ear an entire season talking about Matthew Stafford. I just think they're going to get it done in Seattle. They are the better team, the more complete team, at least over the course of the season. And the Patriots should squeak by in Denver.
Will?
I've got Rams over Broncos, but I don't have a bet built into it because I already have. Like if I wanted to put something in, it would be. Obviously, I'm taking that money line parlay, so that's why I'm picking this. But if I was going to do anything, it would be, I guess, hedging. Like, I don't know what my hedge would be. I have Rams to win the NFC at plus 240, and then Rams-Patriots Super Bowl matchup at 7-1. So, like, I'm going to ride that out.
Will, you don't have to do anything, okay? You have a lot of bets today, so we'll just, if you don't want to put it on.
I got my hands in different cookie jars, trying to catch Leap and Larry here, flying up the board with these big weeks. I gotta make a move, man.
That's fair. Okay, RJ.
Also, I ran out of money, so what do you want me to do?
That's fair. I'm saying I shouldn't have even got to. You don't have any money, RJ.
Will's trying to find a way to take Indiana to win the Super Bowl. So see what kind of odds he can get there. No, on an exact outcome market, I like the Patriots over the Rams. That's my lean at plus 700. If New England gets here, it'll be the easiest defensive matchup they've faced in the playoffs, considering the last 3 teams they've played. And I don't know that that's true for the Rams with how New England's defense has stepped up. It might be the toughest one that they've played, and that's including Seattle. We'll see how they respond in that game. The hypothetical line here is Rams -3 and 50.5 on a total. I can definitely see New England holding them under that implied total and winning like a 24-20 type of game in the Super Bowl here. So I think the odds and the value here is on Patriots over Rams plus 700.
Music to my ears. I agree with everything. Every single week we're saying this is the toughest defense they face. This is the toughest defense they face. So if they get through the Broncos, they got through the Texans, they got through the Chargers, I think they can certainly get past the Rams. So I'm going to put 50 on the same exact bet.
But
Right,
that would involve getting through the actual MVP first. So that's a little bit tougher.
Mm-hmm. Right. Super Bowl MVP, sprinkle. So, of course, now's the time to bet it before these games go down because these odds will shorten based on, of course, who is the one that comes out the other side. So, Will, big surprise here.
Of course, I'm taking Matthew Stafford at 3-1. Although I do wonder if you wouldn't be, and I'm trying to find this really fast, but I do wonder if you wouldn't be better off just, I guess in certain spots you could probably parlay Stafford like if you had like an open bet and you took the Rams plus 130, don't you think it would be better than 3-1 if you took the Rams to win the Super Bowl? I guess it would depend. It would depend on who they face. If they face the Broncos, no. If they face the Patriots, maybe. I think the Patriots are like 1.5 point favorites in that game.
I can tell.
No, it's Rams -3.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Stafford. Then Stafford at 3-1 is a great value because you're getting the 3-1 if they win the Super Bowl. I think it's very likely he's the MVP. And 27 years since Kurt Warner did the same thing, regular season and Super Bowl MVP. Let's get it.
Yeah, there you go. And you had 25 on Puka first Super Bowl touchdown.
Yeah, that one kind of caught my eye. Puka first touchdown scorer in the Super Bowl, 17-1. Like if the Rams win, Puka's going to be like 4-1 first touchdown scorer. So I will.
You can literally put $5 on that and still be up. Pretty nice.
Yeah. So I'm gonna sprinkle on that early because I think that if the Rams get to the Super Bowl, he's going to get the ball a lot early and maybe catch that first touchdown.
Yeah, for sure. I love that play. RJ?
My lean's to Drake May plus 300. Stafford's probably a better value at the same odds, considering the Rams are better value to win the Super Bowl. But I'm sticking with the team I'm backing to win it. And I think you could also take a stab with how well that New England defense is playing at a random New England defender. And if they have one of those, 43-8 type of Super Bowls, and a guy like Christian Gonzalez, 250-1. Could win it. Milton Williams, I saw somewhere 200-1.
Yeah.
Take one of those plays, and you might just, I'm probably going to have a sprinkle on one of those next week, is what I'm saying. If the New England is in it, I'm going to be playing at least one defender.
I love that.
Yeah, and make sure, like, if you're betting those and you're watching the show and you're betting those, whether it's all bets are action, et cetera, because they usually are for that stuff a week out of those kind of values, right?
Yep. I probably did this out of order because Larry, you were on the same page with Will, so I'll just go quickly. I'm also on Drake May. Would be the second youngest quarterback to start a Super Bowl behind Dan Marino, the youngest if he does win it. it's all about storyline. Even if he doesn't have a great game, I think the fact that they do win the Super Bowl with him under center, he's going to get the credit. So I'm on Drake May. I'll put 50 there. And Larry, back to the Stafford conversation.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Stafford plus 600 before the playoffs started, now plus 300. I still think the Rams are going to take it down and that it will be Stafford. In almost any game scenario where they win it all, he's going to get it. But I think Von Miller was the last defensive guy to take home the MVP, and that's a really interesting market, RJ. I can't wait to get into next week.
Yes, we will. And all but one of the last 6 have been a quarterback. Cooper Kupp was the last non-quarterback 4 years ago with the Rams.
When it went to that point, though, like the same people who voted on Cooper Kupp will be voting this year and know that Stafford didn't get it when Cooper Kupp did get it. So
Yeah. There we go. Good point there. Will Brinson, Larry Hartstein, RJ White, Caludia Bellofatto, thanks for hanging out with us for the conference championship breakdown. Enjoy these games. We will possibly see you next week. We don't really know the schedule yet, but we'll obviously talk before the Super Bowl happens. So see you on the other side. Thanks for hanging out with us.